Bla Xit family, Bla Xit family, Bla Xit family, welcome. I am firstly going to apologize for yesterday's absence. I do apologize sincerely. Unfortunately, it was due to circumstances beyond my control. I wasn't able to get home in time to do the live session. So I sincerely ask for your forgiveness, and I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to be there on time. But give me a sound check, give me a little bit of a light check. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Let me say hello to the first people that are actually on the live. That's Africana, Mujawami Me, More Africa. News, Black Sit, Mali dumps French language in place. And in place, they make Bambara, the language, the African language, their national language. It also cuts diplomatic ties with I and also kicks out the Danish troops. Wow, I heard this. Actually, I got a text from Perspective saying just that. So I want you to join me on today's live. I'm going to put the invite on the screen and also in the group on a regular basis tonight. We're going to be talking about something that affects us all, and that is called intergenerational trauma. Thank you, Shania. Thank you, La Pop. And thank you, Bla Xit family. Thank you, David. Nice to see you again. So I will be talking about that, and it's very, very important that we talk about it. It's with regard to something that we experienced this week, and something that I wanted to share. The program will be coming up on the channel, so it's almost like giving you a preview about it. But I wanted to talk about intergenerational trauma and its impacts, and I don't want to be talking on this subject without your inclusion in comments. So I will be reading out your comments. It's very, very important to me that your comments come up so we can see and hear them. Now, a lot of people talk about intergenerational trauma, but the question is, how does it actually impact and affect us on a daily basis, even today? And how did it affect our ancestors? Well, the thing is that it affects us in many, many, many ways, down to the foundation of our basic relationships. And even I can vouch for that. As you know, I was born in the UK, and my parents were born in Jamaica. And obviously, so was their parents. And so, and their four parents were obviously, well, I think two of my grandparents were stolen, taken in captivity, and enslaved, and then transported to the Caribbean as slaves. So let's hear what Shania's got to say. Shania says, I think we have to first acknowledge as a people that we still deal with trauma. A lot of us don't like to admit there's a spiritual disconnect as a people that we share. Well, I'd somewhat agree with that. Excuse me, sorry. I would somewhat agree with that. We have to admit the fact that we're actually suffering from trauma. I read a book called Post-Traumatic Slavery Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGroy. And I was actually going to play the video here today before I did the video, but it was rather long, and I really liked it, but I didn't want to know where to edit it, here or there or there or here, because it's really good. So I would urge you to go onto YouTube and to have a look. I look like my first cousin. And have a look at that video by Dr. Joy DeGroy. Obviously not now. If you could do it after the live, that would be amazing, so that we can actually discuss it. So Clarissa Wells, thank you. You look like a first cousin. That's very nice. So we never know. because of what's happened with us and the disbursement, that could very well be the case. Now, um, last weekend, I went to a place called Geoffrey and Bredo, and my family and I, we went with the film crew, Perspective, and you love Dr. Tigray. Yes, so do I. And we went to Kunta Kinte Islands, and we also went to the museum, and we went to Albredo, and we drove through Geoffrey. So it was a very it's affected me even till today. Even till today, it's still affecting me, because I saw where they kept our ancestors, and there are so many more sites like this, whether it's Goree Island, or even if it's in in Ghana on the Gold Coast. There are, so many of these terrible places, which is where they had our enslaved ancestors. And did I cry? Of course I cried. Of course I cried. I cried because the trauma is real. And because many of us have forgotten, the painful past of our ancestors. And this trauma is carried through. So I'm going to talk about intergenerational trauma today and the way in which it affects us, even our relationships with our husbands, with our wives, with our children, and also with, of course, the colonizer. Yeah, they are. So Clarissa Wells, just paused to read a comment there. Clarissa Wells said her videos are amazing. She's on YouTube, post-traumatic slave syndrome. So I would urge everybody to watch it. Or what we might do is maybe we do a short session this week, a very short session, and then we bring on the the program, and then we have a discussion afterwards. Maybe that's an idea. Fathia said, when I came back from the island, I was depressed for a week. The energy was bad. Yeah, even me. I've cried, and I was having almost like visions. When you know the story of what's happened there and where they stayed, and then they've got an area which is where they did the torture, or the punishment, where they, whipped and castrated our ancestors. And when I say our ancestors, if you're here in Gambia and you're Gambian, you're most likely to have been affected, because 750,000 Gambians were shipped off of Gambia, were enslaved off of Gambia, some of which were murdered and tortured. And so it is a very, a hard situation to be in. Even now, I feel very emotional about it. And it also comes to how we work in our own families, because the trauma is so deep. Many of us have broken families and come from broken families. For example, I know many people in my generation, their parents divorced. And also, I know that many people in my generation also came from families which may have stayed together generations. But, there was issues in the family. So I'm just reading some of the comments to share with you. Jazara in the Gambia said, planning to go soon, but the trauma is real. It affects many areas of our lives. And so trauma is continuous. I just want to tell you this, that the trauma, intergenerational trauma, is still continuous, because you still suffer from racism, discrimination, abuse, oppression, and colonization. That's why you wrote the comment about Mali, because still colonized, and it's only now they're breaking free of that colonization. Shania said, so many African American relationships are damaged. Mother, daughter, exactly. father, son. We value a relationship with a white person over our relationship with each other, and we think that's normal. Absolutely. I mean, why don't you join in the chat? I'm just going to post it again. I would love for anyone. Don't be shy. You don't have to come in and live on camera if you don't want to. You can just come in with your voice. But it would be nice to hear from you because I feel that it affects everything. I was talking about this with my family, and I was talking about the disastrous effects that the trauma has caused because some parents, weren't able to show affection to their own siblings. Some parents aren't able to have a proper relationship because their parents didn't have a proper relationship with them. And the cycle goes on and on and on and on until now. Until now. But it's not just about that because even, with our lovely, beautiful melanated men, some of them, also suffer from their deep trauma. Same as our beautiful melanated queens, our women, our kings and our queens suffer so deeply, even today. So what do we do about it and how do we stop it? And I'm looking for solutions today. I'm looking for solutions today because I realize that the past, our history, has to be a guide. One for non-repetition, and two, for us to chart new solutions and ways of overcoming the trauma, because it's destroying us as people, and it will continue to destroy us because many races, they don't have the same issues as us. We lack basic fundamental respect for one another and lack of trust towards one another. And some people say, oh, this has come from the way in which, we were treated, or this comes from the situations that we were in. The fact of the matter is that the trauma results in very simple basics, like overprotection of your children. While other children can go skiing and enjoy themselves, your mum might be, overprotective. Not only that, we will, look up to the colonizer and give the colonizer more respect than we will give our own brothers and sisters. And that is worrying. Why do we do this? Why? I mean, the fact is that, everybody's got a right to worship and to pray and to hold whatever religious system or beliefs they want to. Everybody's got that right. But do we have to look up to the image of the oppressor as being our savior? So I just want to read a comment. Jazaros in the Gambia, then it affects the children for generations. Yeah. I mean, sometimes, I'm glad you've come to join me. Sometimes, hi, Shania.
Hi, I'm a little shy, so I didn't want to show my face.
No, don't worry. We can hear your voice. I'm really grateful that you come on, and thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to Bla Xit. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good. I'm actually currently reading Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and the fact that you're talking about relationships right now, I remembered an insert I just read last night, and it was saying that during slavery, when a white slave master would come up to a woman or father in the cotton field and approach them about how good their child is doing, a lot of times the mother will sit there and basically trash talk the child, or master, he's stupid, he's not workable, to basically save her child from being exploited. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
then she also went into a present day situation where she was in a parent teacher conference, and a white mother was praising her son's academics, how he's doing well in sports. And she turned to the Black woman and she said, "Hey, your son's doing well." And instead of the Black woman saying, "Yeah, he is doing well, he's excelling," she starts talking about all the bad that he's doing at home, how he doesn't clean, how he doesn't cook, how he's lazy. And she was saying that type of mentality has carried with us. And I remember when I was a child, I'm still kind of young, I'm 21. And I remember my mother, she would praise me on like Facebook or some type of social media platform. But in person, if someone would compliment me or my sister or my brother, it's almost like she would undermine our capabilities. And we never understood that. So when I read that in the book, it made me emotional because I'm like, wow, like me and my sister, she's 18, I'm 21. We have that kind of resentment towards our mother because till this day, she really won't praise us in the type of way that we would want. And there was also a part in the book where she gave the example of a mother and a Black mother and a white mother in a bank. And a lot of times, if you notice, when you go to the bank or
I
a grocery
remember
store,
that.
yeah, when we go out, the Black mother always keeps her children close to her. I remember as a child, my mom would always tell me, "Stay close to the cart, stay close to my leg, don't wander off." And a lot of times we were young, we would see other white children running around the store, yelling, going crazy, and we could never leave her side. And she made a connection to way back in slavery time, when it was dangerous to just let Black children run around. They would get snatched up, they would get kidnapped, they would get killed. So a lot of that plays into today's world with how Black mothers and fathers deal with their children. But I think now it has a more bad effect on their children because, like I said, I'm older and I still to this day don't have that really good relationship with my mother.
Exactly.
So yeah, I just wanted to add that to there.
My age. Listen, Shania, I want to thank you because I read the book also, and I remember that section exactly for those reasons, especially the overprotective parents, and also when we condemn our children in public. And,
Yes.
you know, we're always putting our children down rather than say we love them, we are, how much they say, my age. You hear me?
Oh, let's do it.
My age. Age. Can you hear me? I think he's frozen. We'll just continue talking, Shania.
Okay.
So great contribution because there was also other parts in the book when she spoke about, for example, self-exhibiting ourselves. Yeah. And I was reading about Sarah Bartman. Do you remember that section? When she was explaining how Sarah Bartman was used as an exhibition tool. And
I'm on what chapters? I'm like literally on chapter 3. So I just got the book like 2 weeks ago, so I'm still reading it. But please go ahead and explain that for me if you can.
She was talking about the exhibitionism, that sometimes we have as well, and where it comes from. The fact that that was the trauma that we were made to be like cattle, to be exhibited as tools. And when I was at Albreda, when I went to the slavery museum there, they had the actual brand irons. I think it was AIT. It was on there. That was actually there. What they used to brand our ancestors were there in the actual museum.
Oh,
and
wow.
I hope when you all come to Africa, when you come to the Gambia, or you go to Ghana, or you go to Sierra Leone, or you go to Gure, or wherever you go, or you go to Sierra Leone, you go to Bunce Island, or wherever, you have a look at these things. You go to Senegal, also, these, oh my gosh, I'm tongue tied. And then you see the weapons and the big cannons, and you see like the things they put on their neck with the wide long things on them with the hooks that went up so they could control the so-called unruly enslaved Africans. It's
That's
terrible.
crazy.
you know. And the thing is that the trauma goes on, because I remember reading a book, and I think it was called Voices by Mallory Blackman, and it was a book of short stories. I think I've still got it in my bedroom. And one story was about a lady, and she killed her daughter rather than have her daughter become enslaved. Yeah, she
Wow.
helped her daughter to live her own life, and this is how deep the trauma is. And we mustn't forget it. We mustn't forget it. And so, you know, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's sister, and Dr.
Yes,
Frances
another
Cress Welsing,
author that I love.
you like her too.
Yes.
She did a talk, and she was talking about her sister, and she was saying how her sister said that we've got so comfortable with racism that, you know, we sit and dine and eat on the crumbs. You know, we
Yes.
sit and dining and eating on the crumbs of racism. And this is what's bringing the trauma. This trauma is making us hate ourselves, destroy ourselves. Trust me, I mean, I've been on the receiving end of so much hatred for trying to bring our people back home. It is unbelievable. I've seen so much lies and deceit, you know, and your own people trying to bring you down for what?
Or make you feel crazy for trying to liberate Black people, like something's wrong with you.
Yes, precisely. But this is the trauma. This is the trauma that we face. The trauma that we face is that, you know, rather than put our money together, we'd rather go and spend it on a white brand, on a colonizer brand.
Yes. There's actually a man here in the US. He's, I believe, in Pittsburgh. Some of the viewers may know him. His name's Dr. Umar Ufantunde, and he's
I met
starting a
him. I met
school.
him.
Oh, you met him? Oh, okay, okay.
Yes,
He's well, I think he got his
interviewed him.
school. I believe he's waiting for the plumbing and the
I
HVAC
interviewed
system to
him.
come in. But so he's starting the school, and he was saying he'll make these little videos, and he was saying how Black people here in America specifically we'll spend money on European brand names. We'll, you know, give our money to the white power structure system. But the minute someone comes and tries to build an institution for our people and try to liberate our people, it's almost like we're second guessing them. We're questioning them. We're going to their past. We're bringing up little things in their past and throwing it in their present day face. But where are we doing these things where we're spending $1,000 on Louis Vuitton, where we're spending $1,000 on Fendi, when we're spending $1,000 on the new Cadillac? Like, where are these questions where we're spending money on that? But here comes a Black man trying to liberate our people and do something for our children here, and there's this back push, like this backlash from everybody. And I understood that all too well, because I remember one time in my high school we tried to start, I believe it, the girl that I was in class with, it was called Black Liberation Sisters. We tried to make it like a Black student government, and no one in our class wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to be in regular ASB, pretty much with the white people, and they didn't understand why we wanted to separate ourselves from them. And I don't know, it is amazing to me, even with me being young and me having young friends. It's really hard for me to make friends now, and I kind of just stick to my sister and my close family members, because we're so far gone from that, or recognizing that trauma that a lot of us have played into causing trauma, and they don't realize that. You know, we've introduced colorism into our community, social class into our community, you know, different barriers within each other. And it's very sad, but it's very real, and it's a reality. And many times I find myself getting frustrated trying to figure out like what's going to happen to us here, what's going to happen to us globally with this division that we place within ourselves. And it's very frustrating, and I get very emotional about it. So I'm glad you really did open up this topic, because it lets me know I'm not the only one dealing with this frustration with our people.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, like I said, the trauma is real, and the trauma is living in all of us. Yeah, and it affects our relationships on a day-to-day basis, and that includes myself as a mother, myself, you know, as a wife, myself, as an individual woman, as a Black woman, as an African woman. it affects us. You know, it affects the trauma when, you know, someone hates themselves so much they want to bleach the black out of their skin. Imagine you
Yes.
want to bleach the black out of your skin, bleach the melanin, you know, out of your skin. Why? Because the trauma of self-hatred is there, and it's so deep, it's so deeply inseeped in you, because everything that you're told about yourself, and maybe even your parents sometimes. I used to remember, you know, comments growing up, you know, because my grandma was kind of old school Jamaican, and so, you know, she would talk about hair texture. You know, you have good hair. You know,
Right. Right.
exactly. You know, and you know, also, yeah, she's skin nice and clear. You know, and so these things are things that the only way to stop it is to change the way in which we raise our children.
I was just about to say that. I I've been thinking about when I have kids how I want to raise them, and I've been kind of examining how I was raised and how my cousins was raised, and trying to um take away what I didn't like about being raised, which is that, like, that colorism, and that, you know, like you said, about hair texture, because I'm a dark skinned woman, so I have to deal with that, not even from white people, but from my own family members. You know, my lighter skinned family members. My mother would mention my skin color, like, "Oh, you're already dark. Don't be out too soon. I mean, out too late during the summer." My skin tends to get lighter in the winter, so she would allow me to go outside in the winter. It was just a lot of weird things that I didn't realize as a child, but it affected me as a child. And when I got older, I was able to realize that, because I remember just a minute ago, I had commented that we have to first acknowledge that there's trauma. A lot of people don't like to admit that there's something wrong with them. And then a lot of them don't even know how to identify where that trauma came from. You don't know if it came from your mother, your siblings. And a lot of my trauma came from my immediate family. It didn't even come from outside people. It came from right at home. Sorry, that's my cat.
Yeah.
So
No,
I know growing up, I would have to, when raising my children, I would have to be careful with the language that I use towards them.
okay, so many of us face some form of punishment, and I think that also is trauma from slavery. I think if you ever got beat, yeah, tell the truth, tell the truth. If you got beat down or you got, you know, punished by your parent, put it in the comments. I want you to come and put it in the comments. Let's talk about this trauma. Let's talk about, well, what did they use? Was it a slipper? Yeah.
My mother used
Was
a
it a
belt.
belt? Yeah. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Adrian.
Yes, greetings.
Greetings.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, the signal was bad the first time. I'm driving at the moment, that's why. Bla Xit Family, greetings. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, we can see you.
Huh? Let me pull over. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Let me pull over. I'm driving. I could turn in.
Okay.
Hold on. 1 minute.
Okay.
Let me just.
Okay, no worries. I was saying that many of us, yeah, and my generation especially, yeah, when I used to speak to other people my own age, and we used to talk about, you know, how we received what we call discipline. Many of us received very harsh discipline, and we wonder, and our parents received very harsh discipline, which is part of the trauma that was also passed on, because there weren't coping mechanisms, and also domestic violence in the home and other issues. Adrian, go ahead.
Yes. So the problem is a lot of things was passed down to us from slavery, and because we never had time to heal, people carry it on. Like beating. Beating was definitely passed down from slavery. You know, and they use it to try and control you. physically with physical violence. So so the trauma remains. And because we haven't been re-educated differently, we continue it, you know? But we can heal. We as a people we can heal. But we have to be patient with each other, you know? We have to be very, very patient with each other. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think especially being Africans, globally, we have the youngest population in the world. Everyone else is pretty much old up in age when you find the average age in a different population. So I feel like that's a benefit to us because we can definitely use that advantage to reprogram our minds to re-raise our children the right way.
Hold on, trying to get this live. Okay. Yes. God. Am I still there?
Yeah,
Can you all hear?
yeah, we can hear you. But
Okay.
you know, it goes into all kinds of abuse. You know, even the taboos within our own community, you know, are still continuing till today because it's intergenerational trauma. Because they used to abuse our men during slavery, they used to abuse our women during slavery. They used to, you know, use buggery against our men and humiliate them in front of everybody. They used to castrate the men. They used to do terrible, heinous,
Right.
wicked punishments to our men and women. And don't forget the rape of our women.
Hmm.
You know, sorry, carry on, Age.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that we have to do as a people. You know, there's a lot of things we have to learn as well. You know, we have to learn the value of the black family as well. Because the black families are where it all starts. You know, and we as a people will be badly damaged. And because no one help us to overcome the damage, we constantly pass it down from generation to generation. And this damage is where we just don't got that caring, that nurturing for our own people. And we have to find that solution. You know, we must find the solution to the problem. And we
We have
must
to find
educate.
that fight.
Sorry?
That fight that our ancestors had. I feel like we're comfortable with our current situation. A lot of us are comfortable with where we are, even with the obvious still, trauma in our current situation. We're so comfortable with how we're conditioned that a lot of us don't even realize that right now.
Well, that's why we need re-education. That's why we need to be educated differently. And it's our duty as well. It's our duty as parents to educate our children. It's our duty as us with social media platforms to help educate the masses. Because if we realize now things are changing, Africa is changing, the world is changing.
Yes.
People no longer gonna tolerate certain things. You know, the world is changing. The social media, people watching things, people learning different things. But we as a people, we have to have patience and understanding. And that's how we're gonna grow. Because to deal with trauma, sometimes you need help. You need help to overcome it. Because if all you learn that you beat your children, that's how you discipline them, the children gonna learn the same thing. And they're gonna want to do it to their own children. So where does it stop? You know? So where does it stop? But it's for us to take our own responsibility. You know, it's for us to educate our generation, educate our children, do programs. Because what we're coming from over 500 years of trauma. That's not easy. So it's like they imprison the body and also imprison the mind. But slowly but surely, I see Africans waking up and some of us moving back to the continent. And by doing that, you actually coming back to your family, and we could just work together and teach teach one, because sometimes it's difficult for us to function in the West because the West wasn't really designed for us. So we need to come back to Africa, because we Africans can work together. Because here in Africa, you still have strong family values. So we have to come home. We have to get out of the West. We have to come home. And when we come home here, we can start make the changes that we want to see. You have to come back on your own vine and fig tree. You have to come back to your own continent. Africa is waiting for us to come back.
Mm.
So when we're dealing with trauma, it's not easy. Because sometimes, as you said, sis, you're doing things that you don't even realize what you're doing. So we have to come back. We must come back home and set up a workshop, set up different centers so people could learn. We got to continent to build. Our ancestors built many continents. Our ancestors built the West. They built America. It's time for us to come home and build Africa. Because black man will never know peace unless they return to the land. They always land of birth. Because Africa is a way for.
I agree. I mean, Joe, welcome to Black Xit. Thank you for joining us. Shania, I don't know if you dropped off or you had to leave, but thank you so much for your contribution. It was so well made and well received and gratefully embraced. So I really appreciate that. So, Joe, what say you? Welcome to Black Xit, Joe. Can you hear us?
First of all, I don't know if you can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me. I actually discovered you through Philip Scott. I don't know if you're the guy who
Yeah,
interviewed you a few
yes.
months back. And yeah, that's how I found you. And your journey's been fascinating
thank
because
you.
just like you, I also live in the UK. Oh yeah, no problem. Um, I live in England, Bolton specifically, and I'm only 24 years old, and already like I can already tell you that just like the man said earlier, you'd be surprised how many like younger black people, men and women, they're definitely waking up to an extent, and not even just diaspora wise, but even on the continent too, because a lot of like younger black people and other Africans, I think now we're slowly taking pride into our identity. Which was funny because I've always kind of felt like that way because I've been lucky enough to raise in a household where like there wasn't nothing instilled in me to be proud of your blackness. It was just a thing. You know what I mean? Like it was just always a thing through my household. You know what I mean? So I was lucky enough. So when I felt other people, well, other black people, because I met other black people who were kind of like self-hating and all that kind of stuff, and that was like a legit shock to me. It's like, oh, that's a bit weird, because I've never, and I'm not talking about community, because even just all my family, even extended family, they've always been just like, oh yeah, I'm Angolan specifically. Yeah, we're just Angolan. That's just who we are. I have family who are Congolese. Oh, that's just who we are. Even friends as well. So when I went outside that bubble, it was actually kind of weird that like, because I wouldn't trade it for the world. I do like being black. I wouldn't trade it for the world or anything like that. But now 2020 really, in a lot of ways, has kind of like changed my mind slowly, and I'm afraid that like I'm going way too far gone to the point to where I see like non-black people as just untrustworthy, and I'm afraid I'm heading to that path because there's nothing that really changes my mind because you get disappointed over and over. By the way, this isn't exclusive just to white people. You even get this amongst Asians or just like non-black people who are considered POCs or whatever. You notice the anti-blackness in their community, So I'm starting to get like a weird distrust from them. I'm not that far gone yet, and I don't want to head that path, but it's to the point where I feel like a bit like I just don't want them. I just want to do nothing with them at all. To the point where like hopefully I will, because I do want to go back to Angola specifically because I speak Portuguese, and it's like, you know, I kind of
Yeah,
want to be surrounded with people who look like me.
exactly.
You know what I mean? And I've been accused of being racist, and it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with just protecting your own, especially when people who look like me. And just like this man said, 500 years, like that's a lot. Think about that.
Hello?
500 years. Oh, can you hear
Age?
me?
Yes, yes. So that's what I'm saying.
Can you
500
hear me?
years of imprisonment, not only physical but also mental
Yeah.
imprisonment. 500 years where they teach you that you're
Yeah, the
worth nothing.
psychological aspect. Yeah.
Yes, it's damaging. And what I'm saying, the black family have to rise up. The black family have to rise up, and not only in Africa but in the West. You know, because only us could nurture us. Only us understand the struggle that we go through every day. You know, especially in the West. You're gonna take a black woman and a black man to stand up in the West because they understand what racism feel like. They understand what discrimination feel like in the workplace. So when they do get home, they can nurture each other. You know, so it all starts with bringing back the black family. That's the foundation. But the problem is sometimes
Yeah.
we do have traumas. We do have traumas, you know, and we have to learn to deal with them. So the important thing is
Yeah,
keeping the
I
black
agree.
family unit going, you know, and you have to be strong. And returning to Africa is the
Yeah, I agree.
greatest thing that we can do as black people. We need to return home.
Literally the birth of mankind. That's literal.
Yeah. So anytime you
Yeah.
destroy the family unit, you're gonna destroy the rest.
But if you face, yeah, it's through the internet. If you face, you know, trauma that is unhealthy for you in any relationship, and you know it's not livable, then you have to remove yourself from the situation. And I think that's like said for lots of situations. I observed children um, in the UK. I did a stint as a residential social worker, and whilst in that doing that stint, I met many families who had children in care, some of which who were forcibly taken out of their homes and put into care because of reports written by social workers. And they always talked about childhood trauma, for this child, and things that the child was supposed to have been through based on their categorization of what trauma was. Now, if that was the case, where's been the package for us? We are the only race on the earth that has had 400 years, over 400 years history of enslavement, genocide, torture, theft of resources. What about us? What about that trauma that we face? What about the trauma that we faced as mothers, worried about losing our children, having them taken away forcibly by us and put on auction to know that they were going to sell your child and you was never ever going to see your child again, possibly.
Yeah, I think Julia drop off there. So I'm not
So
sure if you all
it
could.
looks as though the internet's a little bit unstable. So we'll try and keep going with this, but if it keeps on being unstable,
Yeah.
then we'll exit. But I was saying about the trauma around money, right? One of the issues that we have is around finances and economics because of the same trauma, because you've got to remember that we were denied, especially those of our ancestors which were enslaved, we were denied access to money, access to education, access to vote, access to systems, access to governance, access to liberation, access to uh, excuse, I'm doing my caca, right? And to
Hello.
come on.
Hello.
It's about intergenerational trauma. You want to talk about it?
What's that?
It's about when things are carried over. Remember we went to the Kunta Island last Sunday. You know, so could you see the trauma and how that could have interplayed into our lives today? Yeah,
Is that Daddy?
yeah.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Kav.
He's gone. Maybe back to
Aw.
the signal. So I was saying, oh, there he is.
Hi, Daddy.
Yeah, hi, Kav.
I don't think you can see.
I'm driving.
Go on, come on.
No, don't worry. I think you can see me.
Okay, so I was saying that it interplays itself in many, many ways. We were talking about parents, you know, not praising and encouraging their children, admonishing them, negatively putting them down in public, rather than praising them. We were talking about the relationship, especially between mother and daughter, which can be strained for the exact same reason. Mother and son, you know, strained for that very same reason. The fact remains is that, you know, when someone else is in control of your destiny, it's a whole different situation. Imagine your child being, you know, taken out of the room and being brought into, you know, the so-called slave owners' quarters, you know, to be a victim of abuse. And this happens. You know, not only
Jules,
do
I'm gonna have
they
to jump out.
that, but you
My signal getting
have,
unstable. I'm gonna have to jump out. My signal getting weak.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thanks.
joining us today.
Yeah. I will join back in when I get a better position.
Okay. Yeah. I was saying, Joe, when it comes to finances, one of the things that we don't do, we don't trust ourselves properly with money, because you've got to remember that many a time when we had to put our money together years ago to get tenement house or to do whatever, we grew. And then once there was integration, it, you know, and when you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, what happened there? You look at Rosewood, what happened there? When you look at the tragedies of Marcus Garvey, what happened to him? Malcolm X, what happened to him? Martin Luther King, what happened to him? Yeah. When you look at Harriet Tubman, look what happened to her. Sam Sharp, look what happened to him. Toussaint Overture, look what happened to him. So every time we try to fight against the trauma, it comes back at us in a different way. And so by them encouraging us not to work together, this is that trauma that has got us not working together. It's the same trauma that's keeping us apart. What say you, Joe? We've got 10 minutes left
No,
of the
no, I
show, so I'd like.
no, no, I mean, hopefully you can hear me, but no, I was just listening to you patiently because I agree. Like, there's nothing wrong you said there. Because every time we do, like, rebuild ourselves, then there's always like an outside force that just knocks it straight out. And because one instance of that, I remember thinking, maybe it's just me being paranoid. Because sometimes it's like when black people do stuff for themselves, you notice that then they start being so nosy. Like, the year of return in Ghana. Oh, before I even say, is Gambia do something similar? I could
Yeah,
be wrong. I heard they, yeah? Yeah, okay, yeah. But I remember Ghana doing
yeah.
like the year of
Festival
return type of thing.
back, so
Oh, sorry?
yeah, the
Uh,
Roots Festival. I'm waiting to hear about the confirmation of the date for that.
right. Yeah, hopefully Gambia do it, that because
Pre,
that'd be
I was
pretty cool.
told before, I was told before that I think it was going to be in March or April, but I haven't had that confirmed as yet.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd love to visit Gambia.
I know, right?
But yeah, but sorry, just going straight from Ghana. Yeah, I remember like every like Western media started covering it, but it wasn't necessarily positive. It's more in the sense of like, oh wait, why are they moving over there? Like, what's going on? Like, how come they're not like, how come like or like what's going on? Why are African Americans or just African diaspora, like why are they moving over there? Like, what's going on? Are they leaving us behind? Like, you know what I mean? Like like when you read through the articles, it sounds more like it's paranoia rather than, oh, look at that, just some African Americans or Black British people or just any diaspora. They're fighting through healing, through going back. You know what I mean? They're just finding peace at mind where they're the majority. So I don't know. It just feels like whatever we do, they always have to like push themselves into our space, and that's the thing that I just find really annoying. But yeah, but
I
I don't know. Hopefully, it'll change. As for the finance aspect of it, yeah. Oh, sorry. You can
yes.
go ahead.
No, I was waiting to see if you were going to talk about it. Go ahead.
Very
No,
much.
yeah. I was just going to ask for the finance aspect. Yeah, because the earlier lady saying about like, oh, we spend money on Louis Vuittons and other like products as well. And well, I do understand the argument, but at the same time, I feel like it is a little bit unfair because again, we've been literally have no access to any form of like loans or any other finance that's like that comes with financial literacy. That I feel like once we get a little bit of that, of course you're going to spend it on things because you've never been taught to how to use it properly. So I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, well, on one hand, I can understand that, like, oh, well, Black people, they spend it on whatever. But I personally think it's a little bit unfair because other groups had a chance to be educated in how to use their money, whereas we haven't because we never had the opportunity. You know what I mean? So I just think the context just matters rather than just saying that, like, oh, we're hopeless or whatever. I'm not saying you're saying that, but I just heard that argument before. But yeah.
Yeah, it goes to every aspect of our life, every single facet of our life. The trauma seeps through it because, like I
Yeah.
said, I was emotionally upset. I've been upset about it because when I look at the historical relics that are left here, and I look into society today, I can see all they've done is taken the shackles off and put us in an invisible prison.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No. Yeah,
Can you
I was
hear me?
sorry. No. I'm saying, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Because unless Africa can be one, if all of the leaders or governments, their administration, etc., can get together and agree it, and why can't this happen? It can happen in other places. Why can't it happen here?
That is frustrating because there's literally no reason for. Yeah, no, I agree. There's no reason for us, or at least African leaders, because I'm always careful with language. Because citizens, it's clear that they want change after the protest. Like it's clear that the ordinary people want change. But yeah, but these leaders, with like very few exceptions that you can count on one hand, yeah, a lot of them they gotta go. It's not even close.
Hmm.
But yeah.
I think, like I said, it's time for a change is going to come. But to change the trauma, you have to change the teaching of the child, and the teaching of the child, has to be at a time, a critical time, and the time is now.
Actually, yeah, that's the thing. Would you, for example, because it's clear that like psychological and emotional trauma definitely needs to be healed. So maybe, obviously, like for the next generation, like kids coming up, would you like change the education system? Maybe would that be like a solution? Like through Africa, teach African history, teach about like African, pretty much teach about our past. Do you think because there's like pretty much African history has just been ignored throughout the world? Because you see praises of Asians, Middle Eastern, obviously Europeans, and the Americas, but African, other than Egypt, has always just been like ignored. So do you think maybe like education, teaching African history from the past, whether it be in the continent and even outside of it, do you think that will help as well?
Yeah, I think
Because
that's a start. I think that's a start. I mean, it's
there's
moving
sort of like
along.
a perceived notion that Africa has been a wasteland until Europe came in. You know what I mean? Like yeah. Because not just changing Black people's mind, because even like, do you think that will sort of like that other groups might have for us if they teach like about the Ashanti Empire or the Nubian Empire or Mansa
Yeah.
Musa, people like that, where it's like, no, we are the Zulu Empire, because like we have history too. Because I think part of it is like, oh, Black people, they don't have history until Europe came in. So I think that might be a start.
But Black history is world history. African history is
No.
world
That's
history.
no. I'm saying no.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is it's ignored. Is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that like it's not world history. I'm saying every other continent is praised except for ours. That's the frustrating thing that I'm pointing out. Unless it's like ancient Egypt, But
Well,
that's really it.
what I'm
Well,
trying to say is it's Africa too.
as Marcus Garvey said,
Sorry.
any leadership that teaches you to depend on another race for your survival is a leadership that will always enslave you. So what I'm saying, Africa have to come together as a united state. The United States of Africa, they have to come together. All African heads of government have to come together and work together. We know that they've been distracted by the West, but they must come together to make it work. Now they start the free trading. I think that would improve certain things. Might improve the economy a bit in Africa. But they need to have one passport going to Africa, the African passport.
Oh hell yeah, yeah, definitely.
There shouldn't be all these
Yeah.
borders.
No,
They
I
need to
agree.
tear some of these borders down.
The stream's a bit unstable, so I'm going to close the stream a bit. I'm going to put next time up the video with Dr. Joy DeGroy, and then we'll discuss it after, because I think that we need to discuss it and address it, particularly when we're coming back to Africa, because sometimes we're carrying baggage, and this baggage can be very destructive, especially going into a more peaceful environment. So we have to look at it and look at how it impacts us, how it impacts the community around us, how it impacts, our children, how it impacts our employment situation, how it impacts your employer, or if you're self-employed, how you treat your employees. Do you pay them regularly? Is it fair? We have to look into this, because I realize that because we're coming from a place of trauma, it's very hard to unite. No.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm afraid of this stuff. How are you doing? Fine.
Okay, so listen, Bla Xit Family, thank you for joining
But
us
anyway,
in
Julia,
today's
I
live.
have to go.
It's been an hour.
Oh yeah, no, I was actually just
Yeah,
about to leave.
it's
I just
gonna
want to
be
thank
an
you so much for having me. So hopefully I'll see you next time.
No, thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that made a comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching Bla Xit. Thank you for subscribing to Bla Xit. And you can contact us at info@blaxithome.com. And also, thank you to Sharia, our last contributor as well. And please don't forget, you can contact us via info@blaxithome.com. And also, if you'd like to support us, you can also become a Bla Xit supporter via Patreon, or you can also do it via PayPal with the information that's on screen, tickering along at the bottom. So, like I said, Bla Xit Family, we not only face trauma, but we face intergenerational trauma. And, let's see what we can do. Yeah, so let's watch the space. Bla Xit Family, thank you. Love you. It's been a long week. Very tired today, as you can see, and sporting a slight cold. But I'm glad to be here, glad to share this time with you. I'm glad that you join us on this time. And I'm going to try and do maybe the same time next week, and then I'll show the program, and then we can take it from there. Yeah? And so I love you, Bla Xit Family. Take care and good night.